Hello, friends, and welcome back to the shop. Today is Sunday, January 26th, and it is turning out to be a beautiful winter day here in southeastern Pennsylvania. It was in the 20s when I got up this morning. It's been really cold all week, and today we're going to get up to 40, so that's pretty darned exciting. Maybe some of the snow will melt. We shall see. Today I got a hodgepodge of stuff to talk about. I want to talk about the Midwestern Tool Collectors Association cabin fever event that I went to yesterday. That was a lot of fun, and I'll fill you in on that and show you some tools. I had an event this morning. I had some plumbing intrigue last week. We're not going to talk much about pipes today, so if you're here for pipes, you might want to just consider moving on. But if you want to just have a chat and talk about stuff, this might be a video for you. I've got the Nerup, and the Nerup is full of haunted bookshop because, as you'll hear in a moment, I just didn't want to do anything different today. I just want to enjoy the time that I've got right now. Larry Blackett. So, you remember last week I was about to embark on a faucet replacement job, which I did. And my wife pointed out to me, and she was correct, that the trap, and it's an old house, we haven't updated the plumbing, so we still have an S trap. I know I'm supposed to do a P trap, but someday. So the trap was looked a little corroded, and she said, "Why don't you just replace that while you're under there?" Yeah, while I'm under there, I might as well do it. So I got a new trap, I got the new faucet, and some people pointed out that the aerator might have just been plugged, and that's true. But this thing was over 15 years old, and like it had a little button on the top that you would switch from spray to full stream, and the rubber covering that was cracking, and so it was time for a new faucet. So I got the new faucet, got the new trap, got under the sink and took everything out and all that, and realized that there had been a leak. So it wasn't just that it was clogged, but it was leaking a bit, and there was quite a bit of water damage to the base of the cabinet. So then I said, okay, I gotta have to pull that out. But first things first, let's get the faucet in and let's fix that trap. So I get the old faucet out, I get the old trap out, I put the new trap in, and as I'm tightening the new trap, I hear a crack. And sure enough, the pipe coming up from the floor just shattered. So it was in worse shape than the trap was. I was okay, I guess I'm going to go back to Home Depot. And Home Depot didn't have the right size stuff, so I had to go to Lowe's. At this point, it starts to snow. I get to Lowe's just when it's starting to snow. I get everything I need. I get back in the car, and I wind up driving back home at about 10 miles an hour because the roads were just absolutely coated with ice. They didn't do anything because it was a Sunday. They didn't do anything to treat the roads. Monday was a holiday. I guess they figured they'd save on salt. Anyway, it took me a really long time to get home. Got everything in. Installed the new, I don't know what that pipe's called that comes up from the floor and then bends over, and then you put the S-trap on it, but I put that in. That was fun. Tore out the base of the cabinet, so there's no base now. Got that all piped in, put the new faucet in, got that all connected up. By this point, I'm tired and my back hurts and everything else, and because I'm just not used to getting down and contorting like that. Anyway, long story short, it's done. It's been fine all week. We love the new faucet, and it's leak-free. But I have to put a base into the cabinet now, so that's what I'm going to do today. So that's one thing. Now, while I'm doing all this, I said, it's dark in here. Maybe I should paint it white just to, make it a little bit brighter. So paint the back and the sides white. And my wife really liked that idea, and she said, "Oh, I've got paint," because I dearly love my wife, but she has a bad habit of, well, I don't throw anything away because I get a little piece of something. Oh, I might be able to use that. Goes in a drawer somewhere. So I get it. But she collects things like cans of paint, and I don't even know where these came from. They're full cans of quart-sized cans of paint. I think at one point when we first moved here, she was thinking about like trying different colors or something. I don't know. Anyway, she tells me she's got paint and she'll get it out for me. And so she goes into the garage, which is where she puts all of her junk. I put all of my junk down here. We both have junk. I'm not judgmental here, just giving you the background. And so she finds, at some point during the week, she finds the paint and she puts it's in a plastic bag on top of the washing machine. So this morning I get up, deal with the dogs, do all that kind of stuff, and I want to start some laundry. And there's a plastic bag with 3 quart-size cans of paint in it. You might know where this is going. I pick up the plastic bag just to move the paint to the floor so that I can use the washing machine. And to my abject horror, there's a hole in the bag. One of the quart cans falls out of the bag, lands on the floor, which is a dark linoleum tile floor, pops open, and spills its contents. And I'm just standing there thinking, what how did... So I had to clean up a whole quart of white paint from my dark linoleum floor, which needs to be replaced anyway. It's, but I still got like white paint on me. You won't be able to see it, but I've got like white flecks of paint. It gets everywhere. It was a mess I just did not have to deal with, but I'm trying, my wife is still sleeping. I'm trying really hard to think about how I'm going to tell her about this without saying, how could you put 3 cans of paint in a bag with a hole in it? But then I think to myself, how could you be stupid enough to think that a plastic shopping bag was going to hold 3 quarts of paint? What's done is done. It's cleaned up. Everything's fine. Laundry is going. I'm talking to you. When I'm done here, I'm going to make a base for my cabinet. Woohoo! One of those days. Yesterday was a lot more fun. There was no spilled paint yesterday. Got up early, filled my thermos with coffee, took a couple of pipes, and a large pouch of Haunted Bookshop, and set off for York, PA. I left here it was about 6 o'clock by the time I left. The show starts at 7. I wasn't really planning to get there at 7. Takes about 2 hours to get there, so I left around 6 and got there pretty close to 8. It was like 5 after 8 when I pulled into the parking lot, and went to the show. And for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, the Midwestern Tool Collectors Association is a fairly large nationwide organization for people that like old tools. Okay, and old can mean a lot of things. Old can mean tools from the 1700s. Old can mean tools from the 1950s. It probably doesn't mean anything after the 60s, because quality starts to go down pretty steeply, unfortunately, in hand tools. But I love this show, and I go to it every year. It's a swap meet. It's like a big flea market for tools, basically. And you get to chat with people about stuff. I saw a really neat pencil sharpener. My buddy Phil Rivera, if you're watching this, Phil, you would have loved this pencil sharpener. You put the pencil in, and it sits inside of a gear, and you turn the crank, and as you turn the crank, there's think of a 3-pointed star that is the blade that spins, and each time it spins, it catches the gear and turns it just a little bit, and then comes down and swipes the pencil. And then the next blade comes up and turns it a little bit, and then as it comes down, it swipes the pencil. So you're basically making a faceted point on a pencil. It was really cool. I wanted to buy it, but the guy wanted $100 for it, and it was fair. And there's somebody out there that collects these things, and I'd much rather go to that person, because I'm just going to play with it a couple times and then have it, But it was cool. That was probably the highlight of the show for me. It wasn't as big as it's been in previous years, and that worries me a little because, it might be dwindling. Interest might be dwindling. I don't know if the kids are into the old tools. I love saying the kids almost as much as I like saying the Google. There we go. Anyway, I did wind up picking up a couple of tools. I had a list And I keep this list in a notes application on my phone in case I'm ever at a flea market or whatever. There's some plow plane blades that I want to find. I'd really like to get a distance saw jointer. None of this stuff is things I need. It's just like it would be nice to fill out the set, or I like distance saws, so having a distance jointer would be kind of neat. Nothing on my list was at the show, but that doesn't mean I didn't buy anything. And I'll show you what I bought. Some of this stuff might be unusual to you. I don't know. I don't know how many of you are woodworkers, but this is let me start with this one. This is a Stanley number 51 spoke shave. Obviously needs some work, it's rusty, but it's in relatively good condition overall. These are double iron blades, and they're just nice spoke shaves. I use these. I have one that, and there's a whole variety of these. I mean, if you wanted to collect all of the Stanley spoke shaves, it would be a fool's errand. There's so many of them. And then other companies make them. I have a really nice one that I got from, I think it's a Veritas, that I bought new. And it works great, but it's got flat sole, and it's a bit limited in like how many angles you can, not this way, you can infinitely adjust this way, but in terms of this way, because the blade will only catch based on the geometry of that sole. So this is slightly different. The handles are raised on this. You can see they're kind of swooped up, so if you needed to get close to something, that was wide, you could do it. The Veritas that I have is straight, and I should have brought that over. But anyway, so this will be a nice addition to my tools, and I will de-rust it and all that kind of stuff. Maybe I'll make a video on that, because I'm probably not going to do it anytime soon. So, Stanley number 51 spoke shave. This is an interesting fellow. This is also a Stanley 51, I think. You can see that they're very, very similar. This obviously is in much better condition. But what's neat about this is, I believe the owner modified the sole. So you see how that curves right there? And you can see the number 51 is a bit missing. If you compare that to this one, it's very flat. So I think this, talking about what I was saying earlier about being able to change this angle, I think this is actually modified to give you a bit more freedom in terms of the angle of attack. That's kind of neat, and it gives me more options when using a spoke shave. So I'm happy about that. And this one needs very little work. There is a spot of yellow paint there. I find it odd that whenever I buy tools, used tools, there's always a spot of paint on them. So I will clean that off. I'll obviously have to sharpen the blade. This one does not need much work at all beyond that, though. So very happy with those. And the third thing I bought, I highly doubt that any of you will recognize this. It's another Stanley tool. I do like Stanley. Stanley and Miller's Falls are my two favorite manufacturers. Miller's Falls is just kind of a emotional connection, personal connection, because the first hand plane that I ever restored was a Miller Falls plane. And so I've just always enjoyed their tools. They're getting harder to find, but Stanleys are everywhere. This is a Stanley gauge, and it's a Stanley butt gauge. And I bought it for a number of reasons. So this is designed, and it's a very interesting tool. It's designed for laying out mortises for butt hinges when you're hanging a door. Now, you probably have never hung a door, because most doors now are pre-hung. I have. I will probably never again. But I have the gauge, and it's useful for other things. I mean, it's designed with some really neat features for doing that and making it easy. But it's useful for other reasons. So it's got these two beams that come out, and hopefully you can see there's a little nicker on that, so you could use this to, put this against a board and scribe a line. It has a built-in fence right there. So if you put this against a board, you know that this surface will be 90 degrees to this surface, so for striking a line. And it actually has, if I get the other one to come out, yeah, it's got two of these. So you can do, if you're laying out like mortises to cut, and you need both the width and the depth of that mortise or something like that. So yeah, it's something that's useful. It could also be used as a depth gauge. I'm sure I will find use for this, but I bought it for a couple of unimportant reasons. One, the 8-year-old boy in me loves the fact that it's called a butt mortise. I'm sorry, not a butt mortise. That'd be even funnier. A butt gauge. But yeah, And I see them all the time, and I don't have one. And every time I see them, I think to myself, should I get one of those? Well, now I don't have to do that anymore. This makes my life easier in a sense. Also, the guy was selling it for, I think, $11, and as soon as I picked it up, he said, I'll sell that to you for $5 if you want it. $5, what am I going to do? He made me a really good deal. It was the same guy that I got the spoke shade from, and I think it was a fair deal. But yeah, I got a good deal on this. So, that's that. Why am I buzzing here? Oh, it's already 10 o'clock. My goodness. When you have to clean up an entire quart of paint, time flies. Maybe that's how paint gets on the old tools. Let's just let that go. Anyway, I had a great time. I went to the swap thing. I picked those things up, and then they have an auction in the afternoon. And I was a little disappointed in the auction selections, and I've never actually bid on anything at the auction. I just like seeing them and seeing some of the auction. So I had time. I was going to go to a museum. They have a museum of industry and agriculture in York that supposedly is very good, but the timing just wasn't right. By the time that opened and the auction and everything, it didn't. I would have had to rush, and I didn't want to do that. I did find a little cigar lounge. Now, the name of this place was, I think, Mint Vape and Cigars, so I didn't have high hopes, but it actually had a really nice cigar lounge. Unfortunately, the cigar lounge was in the attic of the building, and it wasn't heated. It was cold up there. Oh, and they had an air cleaner thing that was like venting directly to the outside, and that meant it was pulling in air through the relatively loose construction of the attic. It was cold. It was warmer than it would have been if I sat outside and smoked a cigar, but it was cold enough that I took my coat off at first, and then I wound up putting my coat back on. I was the only person there. Nice leather chairs, really nice lounge. I'm sure in the summertime it's a great place to hang out. Or, well, maybe it gets hot. I don't know. If it wasn't so cold, it would have been an incredibly pleasant time. I got myself a Alec Bradley Black Market, which is great cigar. I really enjoy those. And just spent about 45 minutes sitting there, catching up on Instagram. There was nobody else there, smoking the cigar, and then went back and checked out the auction, had some lunch, drove home. That was the show. But all in all, a good time. A lot of driving. A lot of Haunted Bookshop was burned, and a couple of tools were obtained. So there you have it. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that. I know it was a wild ride of mixed stuff, but sometimes that's what happens. That's the way life is, after all. If you needed to define life in one sentence, you could probably say life is a wild ride of mixed stuff. I hope you're having a good weekend. I certainly am, despite the challenges, but it's all good. So I'm gonna draw this to a close and go cut out the boards for the base of my under-sink cabinet, and hopefully within a few hours we'll be able to put all the stuff that collects under the kitchen sink again. That'll be nice. So have a great Sunday. I hope you're looking forward to a fantastic week ahead. And until we speak again, I will look forward to talking to you all again very soon. Goodbye now.